Not ready for me.
And we're going now to Arapahoe County Sheriff Grayson Robinson.
Good evening. I'm Grayson Robinson. I'm the Arapahoe County Sheriff. We are here to again update you on the tragic shooting that happened today at Arapahoe High School. As you're probably well aware, at 12:33 this afternoon, a school resource officer assigned to the Arapahoe High School called out for assistance on some type of a situation on the west side of the school. The deputy immediately realized that an armed student had come into the school and had shot one student in the immediate entry area of the west area of the Arapahoe High School. The deputy and security staff from Littleton Public Schools immediately responded to that area, along with responding deputies from the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office, and they immediately implemented our active shooter protocol. Our active shooter protocol is exactly the same as the active shooter protocols that have been trained locally and regionally and across the United States. And that protocol and that purpose relative to the active shooter response is to go immediately to the threat and eliminate the threat. The deputy that is assigned as a school resource officer did exactly as he was trained and as he is expected to do. From the time that the deputy called out the incident until the time that he discovered the shooter's body was within 5 minutes. The deputy did his job, school security did their job, and the additional responding deputy sheriffs that made up an active shooter response team did their job extraordinarily well. I believe that their quick response and their reaction saved lives in this particular incident. I have no way of knowing, nor will I have a way of knowing, but I believe the shooter knew that deputy sheriffs were immediately about to engage him, and I believe that that shooter took his life because he knew that he had been found. I also wanted to ensure that all of you understand how grateful I am for the unbelievable response of resources and individuals from public safety entities across the South metropolitan area to this incident. The men and women that responded to this incident acted courageously, they acted exactly as they were trained, and they collaborated in the best interest of the public safety of our community and, most importantly, the student body of Arapahoe High School. We evacuated the school fairly quickly, but we did it deliberately. While we were evacuating the school, no staff, no students, no members of the community were injured. And that is a very, very marked comment because the evacuation was done in an organized and very thoughtful and deliberate manner so that we ensured that there were no other injuries to anyone while they were being evacuated. We now have closed down both of our reunification centers, one at the Shepherd of the Hills Church and the second one at the Euclid Middle School. All of the students that were in the school today during the tragic incident have been reunited with their family and with their friends. We know that they are all safe. I'm sad to tell you that we have 2 students that were injured. One student suffered a minor gunshot wound, was treated at the hospital, and within the last half hour has been released with parents. Sadly, I also must inform you that a 15-year-old student who suffered a significant gunshot wound is currently listed in critical condition in a local medical facility. As I mentioned at our last meeting, our thoughts and our prayers are with that dear young lady and with her family. Our investigation continues, and our investigation will go forward for the remainder of the weekend. We anticipate that Arapahoe High School will be closed as a result of our investigation at least through Sunday and possibly longer. We have a very detailed and a complex investigation to conduct. We have a great deal of evidence that we need to evaluate and collect. We will do it right. We won't do it quick. Our purpose now is to ensure that we serve our community so that at the end of our investigation, our community and those that have interest will understand exactly how this happened, and we are hopeful that we will be able to identify why it happened. That will take some time. We currently have crime scene investigators from the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office, from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and from the Federal Bureau of Investigation inside the school. They are beginning to design their plan to collect and evaluate evidence. That is a process that will take some time, and it is a process that will be done extraordinarily well because of the men and women that are assigned to those responsibilities. We are fortunate to have some of the very, very best, most talented, most experienced crime scene investigators with us tonight in that school and conducting that particular piece of the investigation. There have been some questions about releasing the property of the students and also releasing vehicles from the west parking lot. The west parking lot is the main parking lot used by students. At this point in time, we don't have a time frame where we will release those vehicles to their rightful owners. However, our goal is to try to accomplish that around 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And again, that time is an estimate. It will depend on the evidence that we find and the work that we have before us to do the job that we need to do. We've also had some questions about the personal property that was left behind in the school by staff and students. That property will need to remain in the school until we have completed our crime scene investigation. I'm not going to put a time frame on it, but for those folks that are trying to decide how they're going to retrieve their personal property, I can assure you that that will not happen through Sunday. We are hopeful that we will be able to accommodate the return of that personal property by Monday morning or Monday around noon, but that time frame still remains to be seen because it will be driven by our need to conduct a thorough and complete crime scene investigation. I will tell you that we know the identity of the suspect. However, I am not at liberty to discuss it or release it formally at this point in time because proper and accurate identification has not been accomplished. And we will wait to ensure that we provide you with accurate and detailed and factual information. I will tell you that there have been some reports about the individual who was responsible for this shooting. Although we've not confirmed it at this point in time, our initial investigation is causing us to believe that this shooting was the result of revenge on the part of the shooter because of a confrontation or a disagreement between the shooter and the teacher that the shooter was looking for when he entered the school just before 12:33. I want to reiterate, though, that that information is preliminary, and it is the direction that our investigation is currently going. It has not been confirmed, and once it is confirmed, we will ensure that we share that information with you and with our community. As I mentioned, there have been a large number of resources that responded to this tragedy. From the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office, from local law enforcement around the South Metropolitan area, regional public safety assets, assets from the state, and assets from the federal government. I am grateful for their response, for their support, and for their assistance in this matter. We will have a thorough and complete investigation because of the resources and because of the talent and skill sets that are currently available to us. Those talents and those resources are available to us until we release them from this particular scene. And I want to mention again, we will do this investigation right. We will not do it quick, and that is by design. I also want to make sure that you understand that this will take some time. We will probably clear the scene by Monday, but to decide exactly how this happened, why it happened, and what the background was will take us some time. Once that time has passed and we've accomplished the work that we need to do, we will release a complete and a thorough report of this incident so that people understand how it happened, and very frankly, my hope is why it happened. I mentioned the partnerships that we had and that we continue to have. One of our strongest partnerships in keeping our community safe is our partnership with the Littleton Public Schools, which is is the district that Arapahoe High School is in. I would like to step aside for a moment and ask Superintendent Scott Murphy to make additional comments. Once Scott is done, District Attorney George Brockler has some comments, and as we have done previously this afternoon, once District Attorney Brockler has accomplished his comments for you, then I will come back and I will try to answer questions. George will certainly be here to answer questions as well. So with that, Scott, any comments that you have, please?
I think this is a terrible day for so many, and it's heartbreaking. Our hearts, our prayers go out to all the families that have been affected in so many ways. The entire Arapahoe community, Littleton community, is in pain this evening and will be for a while, but it is a strong community, and we will stay together. And I must thank the administrators, the teachers, and the students in Arapahoe High School who were well prepared, quite frankly, because of the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Department and everything that's been done for us over the years to be prepared for incidents that we hoped would never happen. But for today, we're in good care with the Arapahoe County Sheriffs, and we will allow their investigation to proceed and help guide us. But let us all keep the students and the families in our communities in our prayers. Thank you. On Monday, we've been asked whether school would be open or open next week. We will not be having school on Monday, and we will be working with the Sheriff's Department on the investigation, and we will make decisions on the rest of the week by Monday. So, thank you.
Thank you, Scott. And now District Attorney George Brockler has comment.
First off, I'm a member of this community. I don't live very far from here. This high school is well known to me. The sons and daughters of friends and even close relatives go to this high school. So when my phone started blowing up earlier today as this event unfolded, it touched home in a way that a lot of the other tragedies that we've watched on TV unfold probably haven't. My guess is tens of thousands of parents just in our jurisdiction dropped off kids today at school, counting on the fact that they would see them again at the end of the day, and now we're talking about whether or not one or two of them will not. That matters to me as a parent. It also matters to me as a prosecutor out here. And so the three phases, it seems to me, of what's going on include the initial response, which I think everything Sheriff Robinson said is right on. I think at the end of the day, we're going to find out that the actions of these highly trained Arapahoe County Sheriff's deputies saved lives, a lot of lives, and that we're only talking about 2 other gunshot victims. And I think that's going to be borne out by the investigation. The other component of this is what you're going on through right now, which is the investigation. It's going on right now. We've got the best law enforcement available in this state, in that school right now, trying to get to the truth, and the truth matters here. For our office's role in this, we're here to make sure that we can provide the best resources we can from our office, not just to help with the investigation, but to provide the legal background and expertise so that the search warrants that need to get done get done. I cannot tell you that there will be any criminal liability that flows from this particular event, but if it does, our job is to make sure that we have obtained the evidence in the right way to make sure that it's admissible for whatever takes place in court. So we're working on those warrants right now for the different places and objects that are important to get to what Sheriff Robinson indicated was the goal here, which is the truth. Now, people are going to ask, what was the gun? Where did the gun come from? How could a kid get a gun like this? They'll ask about mental health. These are all appropriate questions. They're all questions that I think the community deserves to have answers to, but they're not ones that we can give you answers to today. Sheriff Robinson's right. It's going to take some time to get those things, but you should know that, too, is our focus, is to get to the truth of how this happens. again, the last part of this is probably a part that's already started, and that is how many of the people who weren't immediate victims are coping with this. Schools went on lockdown all over this place. My kids' schools went on lockdown as a matter of this. Parents all over this jurisdiction freaked out, and appropriately so, when they got the message here. There are kids in that school today who are going to learn the identity of the people involved, and they will be forever affected by that. So the other thing that I want to tell you is that there are services available. Some of them that need to be accessed sooner. Some of them you won't know that you need them maybe for a little bit of time. But I'm going to read you a phone number for therapy assistance or some other mental health resources. And if you were affected by this from this school, parents, keep an eye on your kids tonight too. This is the phone number I want you to call. 720-874-8620. 720-874-8620. You don't have to wait for that. If you think that there's an issue, let's address that and keep the ripple effects of this horror from going any farther than the parking lot across the street. Thank you.
Thank you, D.A. Brockler. Before I answer questions, I do have a couple of other comments that I need to make. First off, Superintendent Murphy just advised me that the school district will also have counselors available tomorrow, and those counselors will be available at Powell Middle School, which is part of the Littleton Public School System, and will also be available at the Shepherd of the Hills Church, which is located directly south of the intersection of University and Dry Creek on University on the west side of the street. So anyone needing assistance, certainly the information that District Attorney Brockler provided is relevant, and the immediacy of the services that will be provided by the school district is also relevant. Earlier today when we spoke, I told you that we believe we may have devices inside the school. I can now report to you that we have recovered 2 devices. Both of them are what is normally referred to as a Molotov cocktail. Although I don't know the configuration of the devices, and that will take some time for me to understand and be explained to. Typically, a Molotov cocktail involves a container of some nature with some flammable liquid. We know that one of the devices was detonated in the school. The deputies, the school resource officer, and the deputies that responded to the incident, as I indicated earlier, were also faced with a significant amount of smoke in the immediate area of their response. The second device has been located, rendered safe, but it was not deployed by the suspect. And I wanted to make sure that I had closed that loop with you and that you had heard exactly the number of devices that we now have recovered or can identify. With that, I would gladly try to answer questions that I may. Yes, sir.
Sheriff, you said earlier today that this teacher who was targeted went outside the school. Were the students who were wounded, was this guy firing on the teacher and struck the other students, or what can you say about that?
I can tell you that the teacher that was named by the suspect, that teacher was the purpose of the suspect coming to the school, left the school, and as I mentioned earlier today, I believe it was a very wise tactical decision for him to remove himself from the school so that maybe the threat went toward him rather than to the school. The students that were shot in the immediate area of the initial entry into the school by the suspect. Additional details are yet to be determined.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Sheriff. Is he wearing any armor or any sort of anything like that we could know of?
None that I'm aware of. That will be an item that I will be briefed on as we move a little further. At this point in time, I don't know that answer.
Can you elaborate or just clarify, what do you mean by revenge?
I guess revenge is the word that I chose, and it's based on the fact that, again, I want to make sure it's very, very clear to you that is where our initial investigation is beginning to take us. We know that there may have been some controversy or some disagreement between the teacher and the student that we know was the shooter. And we believe that his motive may have been a reaction to that disagreement or that confrontation.
Must have been a serious disagreement.
Well, very frankly, I don't know that. And I think we would all agree, if we look at the history of these tragic incidents, it takes very little to cause someone to do something as outrageous as happened at Arapahoe High School today. So I'm not sure that I could agree with you or respond to your question when you say it could have been something serious. I think we would both agree, we would all agree, that sometimes what we believe as an insignificant matter was what triggered these events. Marshall?
Sheriff, can you get any more specific about what you know about this controversy? And then what you said earlier is that the teacher left. Did the teacher have reason to believe this was going to happen, and if he was alerted to get out?
No, there was no warning of the threat. The teacher heard that he was the subject of this individual asking where he was, and it was something that happened quickly. It was not something that it was a planned. It was no opportunity for him to do anything but do what he did.
You said that he wasn't concealing the shotgun when he walked in. Do you know if the teacher was told, this guy's asking for you and he's got a gun?
I don't know, Marshall. I know that the shooter was not concealing the shotgun in any way, shape, or form. It was obvious he was armed. Yes.
Sheriff, we heard that when the shooter entered the building, he asked for more than one teacher. He mentioned 2 or 3 names. Do you know anything about that?
I don't have any information. I was told that the shooter asked for one teacher specifically by name. Once we get further into our investigation, we will ferret that information out. With that comment made, I do want to make a comment, and I know that you all know this. You're all experienced, and you've been down these paths many, many, many times. You will be told an awful lot of things. I will tell you that I will not tell you anything that is not accurate. And if you are told by Twitter or Facebook or whatever modem you are using, I will not confirm or deny it because it's not my information. I will give you my information, and my information will be based on fact, it will be accurate, and it will be detailed. Yes, sir.
The question for me was twofold. One of which was earlier we understood through reports that he might have been a suspended student. And secondly, you talked about one of the students as a female, the one who was shot and is in critical condition now. The other student, male or female?
The student that was the most seriously injured is a 15-year-old female. I do not know a lot of information relative to the other student that received a minor wound, and again, as I indicated, has already been released. I will find that out for you for the next briefing.
Reports that there's a third student. Can you clarify that?
No, as far as we know, we can confirm the 2 injuries and the deceased. We do know that while students were being evacuated, there were 3 students that suffered what I would identify as anxiety attack. It may be something else, but that word will serve my purpose. 2 of them were released to their family immediately. One of them was transported for additional treatment and aid at a hospital and immediately released. They were not physical injuries, they were more anxiety. Yes, ma'am, in the very back.
Tell us, were the students suspended because of the disagreement?
First off, I think it was speculation and assumption that the student was suspended. I don't know that for a fact. That's something that we are looking at and we'll work with the district on. I have no information that the student was suspended, so again, that would be some of that information that may not be too accurate.
Sheriff, we've heard that police just had an exercise in responding to a situation like this just a few weeks ago at Arapahoe High School. Is that true? Or have they had a training exercise at this high school in the last few months or several months?
I can tell you that the Sheriff's Office and our colleagues across the region regularly train on active shooter protocols and responses. We have had a variety of active shooter trainings over the last 3 to 5 months, not only in the Sheriff's Office, but involving our partners across the metropolitan area.
And anything in high school in particular?
I'm not aware of anything particular now. Occasionally, teams will go into the schools, but I'm not aware of anything specifically at Arapahoe High School recently. But I can tell you that we regularly train and we prepare for these incidents. And very frankly, that training and that preparation was exactly the reason the deputies responded as effectively and as efficiently as they did this afternoon. Julie?
Sheriff, any indication whether the student brought these two explosive devices in with him, or were they planted it previously?
Would be speculation on my part right now, so I'll not comment, but I will find out, and I will try to report back to you on that.
Are there any students considered crime students beyond the high school and the shooter's home? And can you tell us anything about what the investigation has yielded at other scenes?
Yes, ma'am. The question was if there are crime scenes that we've identified beyond Arapahoe High School. There are at least 2 and possibly 3 additional scenes. Certainly the key scene and the main focus of our attention at this point in time is Arapahoe High School. We are also looking at the shooter's vehicle, which is parked in the west parking lot. We are looking at the home that the shooter lived in, and we are also looking at a secondary home that the shooter had temporary or some level of access to, and we don't understand. So at least those areas are areas that we are focused on. With the assistance of the district attorney, my staff has begun affidavits that will be presented to the court so that we can go forward with a appropriate and legal search of those particular areas that I just mentioned.
Are you looking at charging anyone else? You're talking about this other home?
At this point in time, I think the district attorney was very clear that we don't know if there are criminal charges that might be relevant. However, we will not close any doors. We will keep our minds wide open so that we ensure that we conduct a complete and thorough investigation. We will not assume that we will not charge someone, but we will do that based absolutely on the evidence, on the information that we collect, and as always, based upon sound and solid probable cause.
Sheriff, a couple quick questions. Where did the teacher go when he left the school? And then secondly, where and how was the device detonated, and how far away was the other device that was not detonated, please?
First off, I'm not going to comment on the actions of the teacher. It's still part of our investigation. The information relative to the 2 devices is also information that is part of our investigation, so I'm not at liberty to discuss that at this point.
Were they close to each other?
I'm not at liberty to discuss those right now. Yes, ma'am?
Does the school have video cameras, and are you reviewing footage? And also, how are you going about getting through tracking all these different potential witnesses, since it was a school with a lot of people in it?
We, first off, yes, the school does have video, and it will be a resource that we will utilize to its very best benefit. It is also a resource that takes time to ensure that we collect it properly and that we preserve it properly. Initially, we were able to identify about 65 to 80 students that were in the immediate area of the shooting. We isolated those students fairly quickly. First off, to make sure they were safe, and secondly, to have them isolated from the rest of the student body. Those were some of the first interviews that investigators conducted and are continuing to conduct now. It will be our responsibility and our purpose to interview every possible conceivable witness, whether it was an eyewitness, an ear witness, or someone that just simply speculated that they have information that's relevant to our final mission of finding out how and why this occurred. Yes, sir.
Sure. Can you give us any more specifics about the location of the shooter's body? Was it the teacher's classroom, the targets?
The body remains in the school, and I am not at liberty to discuss the location of the school, in the school, because that is part of our ongoing investigation.
Was it difficult for the shooter to gain entry into the school at all?
Absolutely not. It's an open campus, and I'm not criticizing that. We need to be a free society, and whether we are adults going to and from our businesses or from our private ventures, or if you're a student at Arapahoe High School, you need to have the opportunity to come and go freely. This student accessed the school like he normally would have coming to school, so there was no obstruction to it.
Earlier,
Yes,
it
sir.
was reported there was a confrontation between the suspect and a student, and then that was kind of retracted. Did anyone try and stop this suspect in your estimation?
Yeah, when we had our initial conversation this afternoon, the information that I had received was that there may have been a confrontation between the shooter and the individual that was injured the worst. We are not now able to confirm that, and I retracted that when we spoke earlier. That will be part of our investigation. That will be a detail that we'll be interested in.
On that note, Sheriff, can you help us understand the sequence then of what happened when he came in? If this teacher was the target, how did these other two students end up getting shot? What was going on? Was the teacher there?
I'm going to give you some general information, but I don't have detail, nor would I share detail right now. We know that the school resource officer reported over our radio system that he had a situation in Arapahoe County, in Arapahoe High School, and that happened at 12:33 p.m. today. We know that the shooter entered the school on the west side just prior to 12:33. As he entered, we know that the school staff notified other staff members that the school needed to go into immediate lockdown. When that happened, the school resource officer immediately responded to the threat, and as I indicated to you a little bit ago, the school resource officer went to the threat and discovered the body of the shooter within 5 minutes of the 12:33 radio communication. 5 minutes from the time that the deputy asked for help until he discovered the body of the shooter.
Right, but so in that 5 minutes then, did the shooter open fire at this teacher and hit students? I mean, what happened in that 5 minutes?
I don't know. We will find that out, and we will report accordingly.
Sheriff, were you aware, and do you have a comment on the fact that recently Littleton Public Schools was named as the 7th best school security system in the nation?
Well, first off, I think that recognition is well-deserved and earned. It's not a recognition that comes lightly, and I will suggest very strongly to you that those recognitions are just not handed out. You have to go get them and you have to earn them. The fact of the matter is this situation happened, but in my opinion, the level of security at the school district had nothing to do with this situation, nor could any secure system have prevented this situation today. I will tell you that the Littleton School District is an exceptional district. I am grateful and blessed to have had the opportunity to work with the men and women of the school district in partnership to educate, protect, and take care of the children of our community.
Sheriff, what do you know about this? Police right now?
I'm sorry?
Are the shooter's parents with police right now, and anything you can say about conversations with them?
I can tell you that we have investigators with family, friends, and colleagues of the shooter to do our investigation. As far as the content of those interviews, I'm not at liberty to discuss them. Marshall?
Sheriff, what do you know about this being a confrontation over the student being kicked off a speech at the debate team?
I don't have any information that I can share at this point in time. When I do, I will share it. Yes, ma'am.
I'm wondering, the student who's in critical condition right now, was she shot in the head, the chest, both? Are you able to release that?
I will not discuss the wounds to the young lady. I think it is obvious that she was transported in serious condition, and after surgery she was downgraded to critical. Beyond that, I will not discuss any further details. I'm not going to discuss where she's at.
What time did she arrive at the hospital, Sheriff?
I can tell you that I don't know the exact time, but our public safety colleagues at the Littleton Fire Rescue Unit were on scene very, very quickly. Fortunately, we have a firehouse less than 2 blocks from the school, and the firefighters and paramedics from that firehouse were the first responders, and they reacted very quickly in partnership with our deputies. They knew where the injured student was. They retrieved that student while we were still trying to secure the building, and transported that student to the appropriate medical facility while giving her treatment and aid en route.
Sheriff, did any calls come in through 911 for assistance? What's the
I don't know if we receive 911 calls. The likelihood is that probably, but the information regarding this situation was reported to us immediately by a school resource officer on scene. 911 calls would have been ancillary and, although important, not particularly relevant to our response protocols. Yep.
Just to be clear, there's no reason to believe that students got texts in school giving them information about there being a shooting at Arapahoe.
Confirming what?
No forewarning, no pre warning about this.
No, we are not aware of any warning. We're not aware that there was a threat that was communicated that would happen today in any way, shape, or form. Certainly, we are, looking at a variety of communications, but we are not aware at this point of any threats or any warning that something like this was going to happen. I'm glad to take about 2 more questions. I will tell you that this is an ongoing and active, complex investigation, as all of you understand. It will be my intention to do one additional briefing tonight at 8:20 p.m. And after 8:20 p.m., short of any breaking news or very significant changes in this investigation, it is my intention that we will not have further communications until sometime tomorrow. And I don't know exactly what that time is because it will be driven by the progress of our investigation. But for your planning purposes, I will tell you that my intention will be to focus sometime around between 2 and 3 p.m. Tomorrow. And again, that's short of any breaking news or significant developments in this investigation. So sometime between 2 and 3 p.m. on Saturday will be the next briefing that I will provide after the one that I will give you tonight at 8:20. And my hope is that we'll be able to use this facility one more time at 8:20. It's certainly nicer than the previous digs I had set up for you.
Sheriff, maybe for you and maybe for the DA, I'm just kind of wondering, you still have the Holmes, the Aurora Theater shooting case rolling through, your county, the courthouse there, we're not very far from Columbine. I mean, what were your thoughts, if you could talk about that, as you got the car headed this night?
Today? First off, I can tell you that the matter involving Holmes was not relevant to my thought process today. My thought process today was an immediate concern for the students and staff and faculty at Arapahoe High School. These are people that I know professionally and, frankly, that I know personally. So my thoughts were with them and their families. My thoughts and prayers were with the men and women that I serve with and the men and women that came to serve with us, that they would do their job well, as they did, and that they would be safe. And that
is Kelly coming down here?
Do our work in the responsible, professional, and detailed manner that we are known for. My hopes and my thoughts are coming true. Fortunately, we had no first responders injured. Sadly, we had a student seriously injured and another student also minor injuries. That's where my thoughts were.
Sheriff, can you update the traffic situation? Which roads are going to be blocked on?
As I indicated to you earlier, my plan was that we would keep this area closed down until at least 10 p.m. tonight. That is still my plan. However, when we meet at 8:20, I will update you with that additional information, and I may be able to give you a different opening time. However, I think it's still wise for our community to understand that this area will be closed down for obvious reasons, and we will open it as soon as we are able. And again, my plan is as close to or shortly after 10 p.m. tonight, if possible. If we can do it sooner, we will make sure you're aware of that.
When do you think you'll have the suspect's name?
I'm not going to tell you when I'll do that, but I will release it to you as soon as I am legally able to do that, both legally and ethically able to do that. One last question. George, you have a comment?
Yeah, Julie, if you don't mind, because you asked. For me, it was a little bit different in this way, and you may remember this, but I got called out to Columbine shortly after it happened, and Steve Jensen and I at the DA's office prosecuted the only felony cases that grew out of that, despite the fact that those shooters, too, took their own lives in the library of Columbine High School, and there were still some cases to prosecute. But it was different then than it is now in this way. I wasn't a parent at the time. I was still 3 weeks shy of getting married. I got 4 kids. I've been in that high school half a dozen times, as recently as a couple months ago when the Colorado Supreme Court came and had a little reception in that library and ended up taking argument on 2 cases. You may remember that, Superintendent. This is a high school near my backyard, if not in my backyard. It's a high school that is in the middle of America. It's a high school like any in America. And so to hear about this happening on this day, in this place, given everything else that's going on, I have to tell you, my first response was a little probably emotional in that it made me concerned for people that I know. And then when you start getting texts, you start getting phone calls from friends who are begging you to give information that you don't have. Like, do you know the name of the victims? Is it my son? Is it my daughter? I mean, those are difficult things, But then what kicks in is, okay, we've got a role to play here, and that is to support this sheriff's department in the best way possible. And I have to tell you, the outpouring of support from the different law enforcement agencies, oh my goodness. I mean, you can't ask for more than what's been given here. And that's really what happens after you get a call like that.
Thank you, George.
Mr. Superintendent, can you address where the school district is right now? Are you still in the initial reaction stage to this? Are you already starting to think about moving forward and how this community responds?
Right now, excuse me, I think we're like the entire community in Littleton. We're in pain right now. We're trying to help our children sort through things and the emotions that they feel.
This is the conclusion, or close to the conclusion now, of the press conference by Arapahoe County Sheriff Grayson Robinson.